All right, welcome back. The political scene in Benue State has taken dramatic turns in recent weeks, marked by leadership changes and suspensions in the House of Assembly. On August 22nd, 4 lawmakers were suspended over alleged plots to impeach Speaker Andona Dajo. And just 2 days later, Mr. Dajo resigned from office. In an emergency session, members elected Alfred Mbege, one of the previously suspended lawmakers, and representative of Makurdi North, as the new speaker. At his first sitting, Speaker Mbege oversaw the suspension of his predecessor, Mr. Dajo, for allegedly working against Governor Hyacinth Alia, but reduced the penalty from 6 months to 3. The political shifts have also extended to the grassroots. The state chapter of the Association of Local Governments of Nigeria elected new leadership, with Kwande Local Government Chairman Vitalis Neji emerging as chairman. For now, the rapid changes raise questions on whether these power plays will stabilize governance or fuel deeper uncertainty in Benue politics. Now, let's have this conversation. We're joined by Dr. David Ogbole. He is the former special advisor to former governor of Benue State, Samuel Otom. Good to have you join us, Dr. David.
Thank you very much, Precious, for always having me on TVC.
So, what do you make of what's going on in the State House of Assembly? The Speaker resigned. Those lawmakers were suspended, 4 of them, and then the Speaker resigned. Those who were suspended became, were recalled, and one of them almost immediately became the Speaker, which is something that a lot of people say is unprecedented.
Yeah, ideally, we're supposed to be doing a midterm assessment of the administration of Governor Hyacinth Alia, who assumed the reins of leadership on the 29th of May, 2023, after winning the elections against the incumbent PDP administration. But the last 2 years has been a roller coaster of positive events, also some worrisome events too. It's not all in the negative. The emergence of Hyacinth Alia has brought some level of developments that are commendable, from the civil service reforms, where there's a revitalized civil service, there's a renovated state secretariat, there's a streamlined payrolls too that has eliminated ghost workers and ensured timely delivery of salaries. The educational sector too is experiencing a lift, just like the health sector, also infrastructure. But like you rightly pointed out, 2 issues stand out that are, a dent on all of the credibilities that I have mentioned earlier. Number 1 is the situation of insecurity in Benue State, and number 2, the political tension that is currently in the air in Benue State. That culminated in the resignation of the Speaker of the Benue State House of Assembly in the person of Honorable Andona Dajo. And then in 24 hours after the new Speaker, Alfred Mbege, was elected, he convened a session of the House on issues regarding their conducts in previous times. But all of these were overturned by the new Speaker and their nominees or nominations confirmed. So that's the situation now in Benue State. There is still tension in the air. The state is divided amongst, the 2 lines. Some are for the governor and some are also against the governor. While some claim that this is excessive and undue interference into other arms of government, some people are saying there are political necessities to enhance the stability of his government. But you see, a precedent has been established here that is worrisome. Since his emergence as governor, there has been an attempt to remove the Chief Justice of the state, Justice Maurice Ipambese, which people see as an undue interference or meddling into another arm of government. The judiciary is supposed to be a veritable and independent arm of government that is meant to checkmate the excesses of both the legislature and the executive. But to attempt to unprecedentarily remove the Chief Justice of the state is, something that is worrisome. Now we have that happening in the legislature. So this situation where there's an attempted hijack of other arms of government by the executive is a worrisome development in Benue politics.
And let me state that the State House of Assembly has exonerated the governor from any, all of this, and they have said it has nothing to do with it, that the speaker resigned by himself and wasn't under pressure. I just wanted to state their own angle. But what do you make of because the person who moved that motion, the allegations were that the speaker allegedly tried to impeach the governor. What do you make of that allegation?
You see, the practicalities on ground was that the allegation was a misuse of an attendance list that they suspect was meant, to end in the impeachment of the governor. The question that bears, consideration or interrogation is that, can the speaker unanimously impeach a governor? Who are his co-travelers in the Benue State House of Assembly in the impeachment move? So you don't isolate the purported or supposed a ringleader, and then you now exonerate his co-travelers. A speaker, of course, we know constitutionally there are procedures to the impeachment of the governor by the State House of Assembly. All of us, okay, I won't claim that all of us are aware of that, but at least reasonably, there is a level of knowledge or awareness of the procedures required for the impeachment of the governor. It takes 2/3 of the House of Assembly after an impeachment notice and certain procedures, met. But to isolate the speaker, that he is attempting to impeach the governor, is something that we find very, very fishy. It's basically a case of giving the dog a bad name so you can hang it. And then the issue of resignation. We are aware of all of the meetings and sub-meetings and counter-meetings are held before he presented a handwritten resignation signed by him that day. While a lot of people are seeing it as an act of nobility on part of Andonadaji to have resigned so that peace will prevail at the Benue State House of Assembly, others are seeing that resignation as an act of duress from certain higher powers who felt, especially the governor, who felt that the speaker was, becoming too strong, challenging his authority, and also standing up to him. Because prior to that, the governor had sent in a letter or a notification to the House of Assembly with commissioner nominees. But the House stood down that letter on grounds that, number one, the living condition of the House of Assembly members in terms of their sitting chambers has not been attended to by the governor, despite the influx of massive funds into the state. They are sitting on plastic chairs now in an adjoining hall to legislate on state matters, while their chambers that should have been renovated long ago is still as it is. It has not been renovated. Number two, the governor has also not demonstrated accountability in terms of how much is coming into the state. State accounts remain frozen, and we don't really know the state of the revenue coming into the state. And then number three, certain allegations of executive high-handedness that he needed to answer with the State Assembly. Those were the grounds that the speaker stood. And we now perceive that these are the reasons that, the pressures were mounted on the speaker from various angles to resign, because they saw him unfit or unsafe for the governor's help if he had begun to stand up to the governor's policies and actions.
And you mentioned something about the SUBEB chairman who was recalled, and the local government, chairman who was also recalled, even though they were suspended, a suspension which was later reduced to one month from 3 months, and then they were eventually recalled by the new speaker. I mean, what does that signal to you? Does that mean that the governor was not in, was it not the one that suspended them? How come that this new speaker, they were recalled almost immediately after under this new speaker?
You see, when somebody wants to play into the good books of a governor as a newly elected speaker, he could just become overzealous. I see that as an overzealousness of the new speaker to play into the good books of the governor. by immediately recalling those people who have been suspended after the allegations against them were investigated by the House and then the suspensions meted out. So there has not been a review of the allegations, but unilaterally, just overturn that suspension. That's not a healthy development. For somebody like the SUBEB chairman, that allegations of financial misappropriation to a huge tune is standing against her. What do you talk of fiscal accountability? What do you talk of transparency? What do you talk of anti-corruption stance of the government when such allegations can be swept under the carpet just by a new speaker who wants to be overzealous and to play into the good book of the government? So we see that actually worrisome.
And what does this mean? Because, from what you talk about, it looks like power brokers are trying to consolidate power. You have mentioned the governor a number of times in Benue State. But 2027 is around the corner. Does this is this worrying or worrisome for the APC? Would this then, because it would feel as though, look, there's a crack in the ranks, if not of the governor, maybe of the APC in the state. What does this mean for the APC ahead of the 2027 election?
The crack is something that has been on the front burner. It's been a subject of media attention for a while now. It is no longer news that APC in Benue State is fractured or factionized or fragmented. There are two state chairmen of APC. Austin Agada is one chairman. Also, Benjamin Omane is another chairman of the same APC in the same state. There are two secretariats of APC. The recent local government elections had two candidates for each of the local governments. They went to court and one faction won, and so on. So you see the feud, the standoff between the governor, who is the acclaimed political leader of APC in the state, and the SGF, Senator George Akume, who is acclaimed to be, the leader of the APC, but operates from Abuja. So there is APC Abuja, there is APC Benue. All of the operations. The fact remains that the House divided stands no chance of making any headway into victory as far as 2027 is concerned. There is a lot of work to be done as far as mending the cracks, building the bridges, and healing the wounds are concerned, between now and 2027. All of this executive high-handedness and all of these cracks, intrusions into the legislature, intrusions into the judiciary, all of these people are people who have their supporters within APC. So this cracks now is causing the disaffection that will ultimately affect APC's chances in 2027 in Benue State if it is not mended. So they have work to do between now and 2027 to be able to unite their house. Number one, the SGF, Senator Akume, and the governor must come to the same page as far as the fortunes of the party is concerned. Trade-offs should be made and a harmonized position should be arrived at so that APC can be able to move, as one entity into 2027. And then number two, the governor has more to do as far as the security of lives and properties of Benue State is concerned. Between just the last 4 or 5 months alone, 452 people have been killed by armed headsmen, terrorizing communities. Even this morning in Ukum local government, 3 people have been killed inside of the rain in an attack. All of these matters are lowering his credibility. The messianic toga that he came into power with is being demystified by insecurity and the political tension on ground. So these are 2 things that he must work on between now and 2027, if at all there is still a chance. Because as far as Benue politics are concerned, these narratives are very, very strong narratives, and they are the determining factor as to who wins or who loses. Security and also political harmony.
How easy will it be for him? Because there also seems to be a loyalty question here. Let's not forget that the governor also dissolved his cabinet, and that's the reason why names were also sent to the State House of Assembly. So, I mean, again, finding people you can trust. You've talked about the faction. So how easy will it be for him to be able to resolve all of these issues if there are cracks and there are loyalty questions as well?
The solution of cabinet is a normal thing as far as executive or governments are concerned. Being the head of the executive, he He has the knife, he has the arm. So he decides when and what size to cut and at what time. So for the commissioners to have done 2 years, and it's in the mid-term, he has assessed their performance and he has decided to dissolve the cabinet, to appoint fresh ones, and also to recall some from the previous list. I think that's all his cup of tea. That's his prerogative as the head of the executive to do. But we are now talking about issues outside of his executive forum, the legislative issues, the issues of security, the issues of economy. It may not be an easy task, judging from the fact that the opposition on ground, PDP, and also the new coalition that is gaining momentum within the state are there. You know, they are watchdogs, and they are raising up all of these matters on the media. And these are matters that are gaining them a market share as far as the sentiment of the people of Benue State is concerned. So the governor has an uphill task, but it's something that if he humbles himself and plays the right card, he will be able to get them settled before 2027. I have hopes that it can be settled.
Well, thank you so much, David Bule. Always a pleasure to have you on. We'll continue to follow the situation there. The suspended former speaker has not said anything yet. He's still very quiet. But we'll see how he responds to all of this.
He has, actually. He has. He has made a robust media statement, you know, to the effect of his resignation.
Okay.
He has urged his followers to remain calm and to be law-abiding. He has also stated that his resignation is in the interest of peace, and that he is still a member of the Benue State House of Assembly.
That's for, I was talking about his suspension, not his resignation. He resigned before he was suspended. And so we will see how it plays out. Interesting development in your state. You know that we'll always have this conversation with you because you are a grassroots politics person in Benue. Thank you so much. Former special advisor to former governor of Benue State, Samuel Otom, Dr. Dave Ogbole. A pleasure to have you on.
Thank you very much, Precious.
All right, that's the standpoint for today. Remember, you can watch a repeat broadcast at 11 p.m. tonight and 5 a.m. on Sunday morning. I am Precious Amayo. Thanks for watching.